Oh my goodness, I think I'm live. Hold on. Ladies and gentlemen on the internet. John, there you are. Man, oh man. Give it a minute to catch up to this whole thing. There may be a little bit of lag going on. Can everybody hear me okay? Hey Patrick in the house. John, I'm live. Man, I am live. But I got stuff falling all over the place. Trying to doggone thing. What a disaster. What a disaster that's going on right now. Hold on. Let me get this going on. Let me turn this off. I think. Wait, now is that man, oh man, what a disaster. Oh man, what a disaster this is right now, ladies and gentlemen. Ugh. Hold on. Hold the phone. Oh my goodness! Oh, in your ears. But man, oh man, did that? It's all crooked. Good grief. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's switch the. You know what? It is what it is. All right. Matt Petrie here and see me fine. We are an hour late. We are an hour late. And let me tell you something right now before we even get into this whole live stream. The light horrible. Because I'm all washed out. It's literally just an incandescent bulb sitting right over my head. I'm going to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. This whole thing has got me irritated beyond recognition. All right. I tested everything. I can assure you. You're all here. Thank you so much, a moderator and also my Gothi. Here he is. Thank you for helping kind of moderate things a little bit in that last. Well, I don't know what's going on. Okay. I literally don't know what's going on. And I'm lighting looked like trash. All right. My connection is unstable, unavailable, whatever. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Technical issues. There's a little bit some lag. There's going to be some lag. You know why? I don't know. I'm using the best thing that I've got on this piece of garbage equipment. The thing that I was trying to do before that was supposed to be working, that I tested an hour before we went live. I tested everything. Everything was supposed to be working flawlessly. Looked great in the test. Don't know why I'm lagging. Don't know why I've got to be dealing with this goodness gracious awful lighting right now. I'm trying to keep it PG because this is family friendly, but I am irritated beyond all recognition. But anyway, hello John, hello Matt, hello Dingo, Janet. Thank you so much. I got to look at everything that I was supposed to be doing before. Okay. What was the issue, John? The issue was that when I clicked go live on the last 3 or 4 streams or whatever it was ago, the sucker, YouTube, was just sitting there revolving with a wheel for like 5 minutes, like, you're going live, you're going live, you're going live. I'm like, I tested everything before. Your evenings, your days, your nights to tune in and watch would be perfect. And then when I did it, YouTube said, not happening. And it's a Saturday night. Yeah. What even the hell day is it? Saturday night. Hey, Godfrey Bear. Let's blame the gremlins. Let's blame the gremlins. Anyway, the heck with the gremlins and the heck with this goodness gracious awful lighting. Why is this lighting so bad? Like, man, oh man. I don't even have it pointed at me. I don't. Okay. Blood Pagan, glad to join in the live stream. Finish work for the day. Blood Pagan, checking in, as I recall, from the Australian region, the APAC region, as we in the United States like to call it, the Asia Pacific region of the world. So, Blood Pagan, hail and welcome. Got a rune set that I'm working on for Matt Petrie, who hopefully is still in the live stream. I've got a lot of stuff going on with Midgard Musings nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. If you are not a patron on Patreon and you want to be, go to patreon.com. I was trying to literally have all this stuff available with information being delayed to share. So if you want to find how to support Midgard Musings, just the Linktree link that's in the description of all of my videos. Click on that. You'll see it all. It's all there. Matt is carving Thor. Well, here's what I'm working on, Matthew Petrie. One of your two rune sets. I got the joy. I'm giving you guys a once in a lifetime opportunity to screenshot runes over my eyes. See? Joy and the sun. So let's continue working on Matthew Petrie's rune set, because Matthew Petrie at Odin's Beard Woodworking has the need for some rune masters going forward. And Midgard Musings is all about helping local artisans. As a matter of fact, the Anchor podcast that I can't get pulled up right now because every couple of times a week includes Matthew Petrie's work. So odinsbeardwoodworking.com. Thank you, Patrick, who says, hail Matthew and Midgard Musings. Can I get a hail? Well, sure you can. Hail to you, Patrick. But man, this whole show from an hour ago when we were supposed to do this, we had people from I know Blood Pagan is here from Australia. And it's Sunday where you are. I had people who are Patreon supporters in your region as well, and it's Sunday for them. I don't know if they're here. Maria, I hope it's entertaining so far, because let me tell you what, the entertainment factor, that is what I hope keeps you all here. The educational factor, the enjoyment factor is what I hope retains people, right? Because you can be entertained, right? It's like was that movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe from, I don't know, the early 2000s. Are you not entertained? You know, he's out there chopping people's heads off and doing all this awesome stuff. Are you not entertained? Right? Here I am on Midgard Musings. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? With the gabo and the algaes. Okay. we're here. We're here, ladies and gentlemen. We're here, boys and girls, on a Saturday night, Sunday morning. For those in the APEC region, my whole stack just fell over, and I'm not too terribly worried about it. You saw it. It's there. I have to let this out. I have to vent a bit, because now I'm here with all of you fine folks, and we're here to continue on. I've got the final set of Matthew's rune set. And as hair, okay, the runes just went all a tumbling. But isn't that a rune casting? If that isn't a rune casting, okay, then I don't know what is. If they just don't fall where they will, then that is not a true rune casting. But here we are to work on one of Matthew's rune sets. If you guys are watching and you want to help the channel at all monetarily, please donate via chat. It's all up there. It's all available. I will, with Godfrey Bear, Macabeth Designs, who says that you do a few Mjolnirs throughout Etsy and custom orders. Great. Listen here. If you are a pagan artisan, all right, I want everybody to listen to this right now. Macabeth Designs, whoever else. Odin's Beard Woodworking has a promo slot on the Midgard Musings podcast. If you are a pagan artisan, if you do any sort of, crafting and whatever, it's wood burnings, wood carvings, leather work, iron work, whatever. And if you want a slot on the Midgard Musings podcast, please send a audio file. Don't need it to be any longer than 2 minutes, or a written script. If you want me to do the audio for, if you want me to read a script and include it on my podcast, send that to me, midgardmusingstn@gmail.com. I'm in Tennessee, so TN is for Tennessee. midgardmusingstn@gmail.com. Okay. Please send me those sound bites or scripts, whatever you want me to, include, and I will feature you on my podcast. I usually do 2 podcasts a week, and it gets distributed on Spotify, and Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, 8 platforms total. It doesn't cost you anything. Just send me the email, okay? If you don't want to have your voice on it, then just send me a written thing. Say, read this. We will need to know where people can find you. So if it's a website, if it's an Etsy store, Facebook, I don't know, whatever, just send me the information. I want to be able to feature people on the Midgard Musings podcast. We're going to get into this rune set wood burning here shortly. Again, sorry for the lighting malarkey, whatever. I have literally been fighting with technology for this specific live stream for the last hour plus, and I'm sorry for all of your inconveniences, but we are here now, so let's move on. All right, onward and upward. If you want your message read, it will be best if you super chat, donate, because I'm going to try to read through the chats as I am able to while I'm working on Matt's rune set. But if there's something important that you want me to read, a super chat donation will kind of bump it up to the top of the list. Patrick Walsh, so bad for not donating. I don't have a bank account. Going to, hey, you know what? Let me just put this out here, right? I will read what you want as quickly as I can while I'm working on this. Please do not feel bad about not donating via super chat. You guys are already doing amazing work by just being here, because participation is key when it comes to live chats, live streams. I'm here with you guys. You're here with me, and that's what matters. Okay. So please don't feel bad about, oh, I can't do this, that, or the other, or whatever. I'm not out here to tell you to give me your hard-earned money. I'm just saying if you are able to and you want something read immediately, a super chat donation will help that. But it is by no means a requirement, and I will get to you just as soon as I possibly can. Okay. But what a night. What a night to just be out here and trying to get everybody's messages read. Matt has commissioned me to do 2 rune sets as a form of barter, trade, something that our ancient ancestors would have engaged in their times. And so 2 rune sets. He's going to get a birch rune set, which I'm working on right now, which you have seen some of the product of. And he's also going to get a driftwood rune set. So if you or someone you know is so inclined to want to commission me for a rune set, you can do so a number of ways. Godfrey Bear, I know you are interested in one, and I owe you one as well. So that's going to be something that we need to get completed. But anybody else, you can send me a message through Facebook. You can send me an email, midgardmusingstn@gmail.com. Rune sets domestically in the United States, including shipping, are $20. If you are international and looking to procure some product, here is an example. Hopefully the lighting, yeah, like I said, the lighting is, I got to help it out here because the lighting is just making me mad. These are birch. Yeah, there we go. So these are birch. Just an example of birch. Man, that's all horrible. Horrible. Focus. Focus, focus, focus. Anyway, you get it. They're birch, and then there's driftwood. So if you're interested in getting a rune set from myself at Midgard Musings, you can email me. I will check emails as soon as I'm able to. But tonight's YouTube live stream is to get Matt's rune set done. So I'm literally going to be working on the final set of it, the final set of it for Matt. So I've already done Freya's et and Heimdall's et, and now we're on Tyr's et. We started off with the Tiwaz rune. These are birch. The what do you call it? The birchwood runes are done a little bit differently because the pieces that they are made from look significantly different. Okay. I'm just going to show you what I mean. So these are the kind of the shape and style of the birchwood. Sorry, the driftwood runes. Matthew has a set already of driftwood, but these are the pieces. So they, as you can see, they are a bit oblong or oval shaped, and they are done a little bit differently. So they don't have the line work around the perimeter of those. They are basically just runes burned into the piece and then shaded to you know, give a different aesthetic. But basically, they all cost the same. They're all $20 domestically in the U.S. And if you're looking to ship internationally, just reach out to me. Okay. I hit a little bit of heat on that laptop, but it's okay. Hey, hey, hey. Use a Dremel on the petrified wood. Yeah, I have an it's not an exactly a Dremel, but I have something that is able to carve into stone. A mechanical piece of equipment that's able to carve into stone, bone, that sort of thing. I do have some material laying around that I want to make some very like exclusive rune sets out of that I may be using that thing for. So, um, Wyatt Coverdale is here. Well, glad to see you in the comments here. Trying to get through Matt's rune set, but since you're here and since you're watching, let me see if oak and ash are very, like you said, popular pieces of wood. I myself have my own rune set. Dingo Dingo, who is moderating the chat, and is actually my Gothi for our tribe, has handled and worked with my own maple rune set. So the maple wood is used, first of all, because it was readily available to me and it was growing in my own inner yard, my own area. And I made the rune set specifically for tribal business, for tribal purposes, for sharing rune castings with those who are supporting Midgard Musings. Very, very specific and very keen work with maple. But it has significance to me because it has literally from a tree that grew in my yard. So the existence, the life sharing aspects of the spirit that lives in that tree, we have to prune it. We have to keep it contained to a certain degree, you know, those elements, those things that exist between us as beings that live in profane space and time. The trees also contain a level of life that exists within our profane space and time. And so, therefore, the rune set that I made that works for the betterment of the tribe, the people who I'm nearest and dearest to, all that kind of stuff, were made from those limbs. So there may be more work coming from that particular tree in the near future. There are more limbs that need to be pruned and trimmed. Here's a Burkana, which is actually what Burkano is, the birch grove protection, motherly protection, sanctuary. So what comes forth from me will be mostly birch and driftwood, but there may be some random opportunities to obtain a maple rune set, similar to what I have. Any types of wood will work, but aren't those two the most sacred, powerful in heathenry? It's again, like I mentioned, oak having a specific tie to Thor and ash having a specific tie to Yggdrasil. Like there's some significance to that. But I could literally go out and I'm gonna tell you this, Wyatt, as a matter of fact. The video that you made, one of the first videos that you made, where you painted runes on cardboard because you didn't have either money to buy a rune set or whatever, you procured and you made your own rune set. You gave life to the runes in whatever material you had. I beg to differ, and I beg to argue with anybody that says, "Well, I've got a rune set that's made from the volcanic rock that flowed down from a mountain in Iceland or whatever, and I've got a rune set that was made from an oak tree that grew in Norway." And then Wyatt over here has got a hand painted rune set that he made himself on cardboard that he procured himself, right? That rune set to me carries more power and more value than anything else that money could have bought from all these other like significant sources or whatever. It all has to do with what you put into it. So your cardboard rune sets, whatever, when I saw that in your first video, right? Like that is more valuable to me from a perspective like that is carries more power and more weight than anything else potentially, right? And it's all relative, right? Because again, like the rune sets that I made, like I didn't buy the maple. I didn't buy maple for a specific reason. I literally trimmed the limbs myself. No power tools were used. I sawed the limbs down and then I took a handsaw and I made the pieces for the rune set. So that carries a special value to me, just like your runes special value to you, right? But thank you all so much for sticking around and watching. Everybody that's watching live right now, 14 live viewers. Hello, lady. Hail and White's Wind this eve. Yes, hail and welcome to you. Yew trees are also sacred, like Lady says. Yew trees are also sacred. If you have the option to procure yew trees in real time, that is definitely there's definitely some sacred elements connected to that, you know. I'm almost willing to take a break here in just a moment. I've worked a lot on Matt's rune set here, which is again made from birch. But Matt is great. Matt at Odin's Beard Woodworking. If anybody who's listening or watching right now is not familiar with OdinsBeardWoodworking.com, please do yourself a favor and go to OdinsBeardWoodworking.com. I have a number of pieces that are actually, here's one of them. I don't have to go very far, but here is a Thor pocket altar. So he's about 2 inches in height. For anybody, kind of goes with me when I travel. He's holding his hammer. He's got armor on and everything like that. This is all handcrafted, hand carved. No power tools touch anything from Odin's Beard Woodworking. I've got a Thor and I've got a Odin piece over there behind me on my altar, and the rune sets that I'm currently working on right now are actually part of a project that Matthew and I worked out. But please go to OdinsBeardWoodworking.com, and if you are looking for beautifully crafted, beautifully hand carved pieces for your sacred space, he is definitely your guy. OdinsBeardWoodworking.com. I appreciate everybody's commenting. Thank you, Dingo. 17 live viewers while I work on Matthew's rune set. I'm working on the rune Ewaz right now. This is actually a let's say it's a commission piece, but it's also a labor of love. You know what I mean? The runes, as I make them for various people, depending on what they're looking for, they're going to be either birch or driftwood. Those that are Patreon supporters at the Jarl or Chieftain level get a monthly rune draw. Those were just sent out earlier today. I mentioned in my post when I posted on my Facebook and Twitter about there being some changes. Excuse me, some changes to the monthly rune draws that patron supporters get. So up until this point, let me just add some light to that subject. Up until this point, everybody who is pledged on Patreon, patreon.com/Midgard Musings, everybody who is pledged at a Jarl or Chieftain level patron gets a monthly rune draw, which I email to you. Up to this point, it's been so let's say, for example, we're in December right now, right? At the beginning to the middle of the month of December, you would get a rune draw for the previous month. So everybody up to this point who is a chieftain or jarl level patron has received an email at this point from Midgard Musings with your November month's rune. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to start a new cycle, a new format of patron rune delivery. All right. So for the month, because previously what I was doing is I was sending everybody an email for the previous month's rune, right? So for November, you would get October. For October, you would get September. Starting in January, you are going to receive a rune draw at the beginning of the month for that month. So something that, because of your pledge, because of your support as a Jarl or Chieftain level patron, you will get a rune draw for that month, and it will come at the beginning of the month. So we're not going to do any more of the, sending you an email for the previous months. You're going to get a rune draw for the month forthcoming. Okay, so that's going to happen in January. So basically, anybody who has received a rune draw today as a Jarl level or Chieftain level patron on Patreon, you will get a rune draw for January at the beginning of January. There won't be anything coming for the rest of this month, okay, of December. So just want to clarify that and answer any questions that anybody has about that. Hey, Troy Hartman, hail and welcome. Thank you for tuning in, Blood Pagan. I know you got to run. That's the way it goes sometimes with these late streams for us. It's daytime for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. But anybody that has questions about what I just said as far as the patron, support for the rune draws, feel free to ask them away. And thank you, Dingo, for moderating the chat and keeping things going as I go here. Huge shout out to Dingo for moderating the chat. Lady Capera Onk is in Nevada, so you are what, like 2 hours behind me right now in Tennessee? 3 hours for those in the on the East Coast. You're in the Pacific Coast time zone. So thank you, hail and welcome from Nevada. Working on Manas right now. Eowaz was the last rune that I did. I don't think I showed everybody. So Eowaz was the last rune I did for Matt. There's Eowaz. And by the way, any of the runes that I make, the rune sets that I make are not preserved in any way. I don't use any sort of stain or preserves to like wax or anything like that to coat the rune. I make the runes, I burn the runes into the piece of wood, and then it is up to the recipient to, seal it or do what they will with it ritually after that. Okay. I don't seal the rune sets. I don't do anything like that. Once you get the rune sets, they are literally they're raw. You know what I mean? So you will get the rune set that is made from the piece of wood as in sort of its raw format. There's not going to be any sort of sealant or anything applied to it. That can be done after the fact. I have sealed my own rune sets, but I've already done what I've done to them ritually, and therefore it's unique and personalized to me. So from Midgard Musings, I don't seal them. That is entirely up to you. Rural Northern Nevada, 720 in Washington. Hey, Seth. I absolutely love the West Coast, by the way. Washington, Oregon, Northern Nevada, by the way. That is awesome. I guess we're talking like, and again, I could be wrong. My geography is a bit off, but like the Reno area, that's somewhat north, further north than that. Like I used to love traveling and going to northern Arizona, like the Flagstaff area. Really, really awesome trips that I used to do for work that took me to Flagstaff, Arizona. Wyatt says that from what Jesse has said a little while ago, you are his Gothi. I think that's how you would say it or spell it. Perhaps you may be able to teach me better than any other sources, not to discredit Midgard Musings. So here's the thing. Thank you for asking, Wyatt. The role of the Gothi, as I see it, is the spiritual leader. And the reason why Dingo is my Gothi and our Gothi in our tribe is because of his deeds, because of his experience in the realm of spiritual work. Spiritual leaders, and here's Manaz, by the way. Spiritual leaders hold and carry a certain level of respect in the community. So in modern times, with regards to societal structure and societal leaders, you've got those that approach society structures as having a militant structure. You have those that approach it as having a bit more of a not quite so. So our leadership within our tribe has, a spiritual leader, i.e., the Gothi. And our tribe has the chieftain leader, the chieftain role, sort of that leans more into the I don't want to say war band culture, but like it's the way we've broken it down is that there's a difference between those that need just specific spiritual guidance and those that need the leadership or the guidance of societal type stuff. That's why we break down the societal roles in our tribe with chieftain versus Gothi. So not trying to interject or insert any of my unwanted or unneeded opinions, but that's kind of how we do things. 4,000 feet above sea level? 4,000 feet above sea level? Is that what I'm reading? Hour or so at 50, 300 feet above sea level. I don't even know where we are at the sea level range in Middle Tennessee. I think we're at sea level. I don't think we're below sea level like in like Louisiana and such. But I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 more runes left. Got Lagos, Engvaz, Dagas, and Othala left on this rune set for Matthew Petrie, which he's getting a birch rune set, and then he's getting a I don't know if you can see that. I tagged myself a little bit on my finger right there. It happens. It's okay. He's getting a birch rune set, and he's getting a driftwood set in exchange for something. We're bartering, we're trading, we're doing the thing that is recognized and very common, like a common practice amongst our arch-heathen ancestors, right? So in exchange for what I am providing, he is providing me with something else, which is beautiful. I love that. So it's going to be a birch rune set and a driftwood rune set. And I absolutely, it's been a while since I've done these specifically. Why it says don't want to become one, nor do I think I ever will. As I said, only one. Knowledge. Well, yeah. Ask, and those that are willing to share in their knowledge will provide that. You won't ever know until you ask. So definitely ask. That's what these live streams and that's what this platform is hopefully built around and intended for, is to encourage a platform or an environment for people to seek knowledge and to ask questions. Okay. Wyatt, I know your situation is a bit unique. We've not actually talked in person before. However, our social medias on YouTube have a bit blended. You know what I mean? Like there's been some crossover and stuff like that. But when it comes to guidance, or when it comes to specific things, there needs to be some one-on-one activity going on. So whatever I can help facilitating that, I will keep my eye on the live stream here. Lagus, we just finished Lagus. Okay. On to Ingvaz, which is an interesting rune to the extent that it is often portrayed as a little bit different, depending on who you get a rune set from or what you look at online. The rune itself will quite often look like a diamond with like legs on either side of it, is the best way that I can describe it. What I'm going to show you here when I get done with it is going to be the style of Ingvaz that I know Matthew is inclined to lean towards. I've only ever done Elder Futhark rune sets, but I am absolutely and 100% open to making rune sets burned into various objects, whether it's birch or driftwood or whatever I can acquire. I am absolutely 100% interested in creating either younger Futhark, Anglo-Saxon Futhark, medieval Futhark, whatever you're interested in. I'm willing to do that in the material of choice that I'm able to procure. So, but this is the kind of the style, as it were, of the Elder Futhark Ingvaz rune that Matthew Petrie specifically has shown a interest in, or he would rather his runes have this style of Ingvaz versus the other style. I've done a number of rune sets both ways. I think this style that I'm about to show you right now fits more on the rounder pieces of wood, like so the round disc versus the oblong shapes of the driftwood. But Matthew has gotten a rune set from me which has this style of Ingvaz on it. So as I mentioned before, it looks a bit more kind of like a diamond. but on the bottom or either sides of it, there's like legs. So it's like, imagine Othala reaching on either side of this specific rune. Is how Ingvaz is quite popularly portrayed. But Matt likes the just this simple diamond shape, and I think it fits better on the round discs of the runes. So that's what we're gonna go with, and that's the way she rolls. I do definitely appreciate, like I said, Dingo moderating the chat and answering questions and seeing things as we go. I've got these two runes left, Dagas and Othala, and then once I'm done, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I will be at your disposal to answer questions and see things that you have posted in the live chat. If it is anything of particular interest that you want to have, addressed in a timely fashion, please consider the super chat option. It is not by any means a requirement, but it does help bump things up as I'm looking up at the chat to see. And it also helps, obviously, support the channel monetarily. So Matthew is going to get a Birchwood rune set and a what's the word? Driftwood. Kind of drew a blank there. Driftwood rune set from Midgard Musings, and anybody that's interested in having one themselves, if you are not following me on Facebook, make sure you go and do so. If you, for whatever reason, can't, and you want to have a Driftwood or Birchwood rune set created, just send me an email, and that email again is Midgard Musings, TN for Tennessee, at gmail.com. Okay. Another question I wanted to ask you all is, do you listen to the podcast? Right? Because the podcast comes out twice a week here lately. I'm trying to bring it back up, and it's available on like 8 different platforms. So Spotify is the big one, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. And it's kind of a lighthearted, like not the same content that you get from the YouTube channel. It's basically just like, well, here's what I read today, and here's what I'm thinking about today. It's a bit more, lighthearted and designed to just be a bit more relaxing and enjoyable. Have you checked that out? If you haven't, please do. It's appreciated. Again, it's free. You don't have to subscribe to anything, but if you want to donate monetarily, you can. There's Dagas. I wish the camera would capture it a little bit better, but it is what it is. There's Dagas. Maria Fury. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that super chat donation. I just noticed that come through. 5 New Zealand dollars. What can I answer for you, Maria? You are a longtime Patreon supporter. So thank you so much for that super chat donation. Let me see if the answer is always 42. Yeah, exactly. 42. Have y'all had water today, says Matthew Petrie? Yes, I actually have. Not only am I sipping on whiskey, but I am staying hydrated because hydration is key. If you're not drinking water, you're going to die. All right. So whatever you're doing, please make sure you're drinking your water, because we are waterific. And that is a non-official term. But thank you, Maria, for that super chat donation. Just found the podcast on Spotify. Well, that is awesome. I'm glad that that has actually been, Maria, I'm actually gonna tell you, my Spotify, you know, analytics for the last year has said that my audience in Australia, New Zealand, that area has grown 550%, which is super awesome and super cool. And I want to thank you and everybody that's helped contribute to that. But the podcast specifically in Australia, right? Like, so here's the top 3 in my podcast audience: United States, the UK, and Australia. The UK and Australia are tied in place. So if you want to see Australia get into second place, tell everybody that you know in your region, in Australia, in New Zealand, to check out my podcast on Spotify and get those numbers up. Let's bump those numbers up for everybody across the world, which is amazing and tremendous and greatly appreciated. Haven't ever checked out the podcasts, probably should, says Troy. Again, I distribute them via Anchor. So it's anchor.fm/Midgard Musings. Let me actually, nope, it's not going to do it because you know why? I'll just type it out. It'll do it the old-fashioned way. But anyway, when you go to anchor.fm/Midgard Musings, you can listen to it there, or you can listen to it via Spotify, which is the most popular method. There's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker. There's like 8 different platforms that this sucker's listen to on. Spotify being the number 1 streaming platform. So check it out if you like the podcast thing. I usually do podcasts twice a week. Like I said, they're not the same as what you would get on the YouTube channel. I'm almost done with Othala, and then I'm gonna focus all my attention on the chat and talk about some things that I hope everybody gets an interest in. Yeah. This is set number 1 of 2 for Matthew Petrie. Cool. Reading the chat dialogue. Almost done with Othala. You guys know the story about Othala for me, right? I think I've mentioned it a number of times on the podcast as well as on the channel. I've even included it in my channel details. I've talked about it in a number of videos. You guys know what the significance is to me for me with Othala, right? You can just comment yes or no, and if you say yes, I will be quiet. If you say no, then I will answer and provide you with a little bit of a background. So, just a few more details left on Othala, and that will conclude Matthew Petrie's first Midgard Musings rune set for this recent project that he's working on. All right, so that concludes that. I'm going to show you, don't worry. I'm going to show you, just like as if you were in the Missouri state of the United States, the show me state, right? Show me. There's Othala. And again, the live camera, whatever, like it doesn't do it justice. Hopefully you guys can appreciate it with the lighting. There we go. That's a better. There we go. Look at that. Bam. All right. So that is that. that is that story. So now let's take a look at the chat and see. The question is, oh, I got a question from Wyatt Coverdale. You know, I love questions. And I love the fact that Dingo is fielding the questions. Thank you so much, Dingo, for helping out moderate the live chat. But Wyatt's question is, the gods are from the Old Norse tradition, right? They historically are supposed to speak Old Norse. Get Odin, he is multilingual. Would we have to call upon Odin to speak? All right. Um, and then Dingo's response says, no one knows the language of the gods. There are no assumptions that they speak ancient Norse that I know of. It was assumed they understood, but they are gods we are not meant to understand. And then Wyatt's response is, well, if that is the case, when and how are we able to communicate with them at all? All right. So if I may insert my own thoughts on this whole thing, when it comes to verbal communication, when it comes to speaking with the gods, right? We are talking about sacred figures that exist in a time and space that is sacred. We are mortals, and we as people exist in profane time and space. Our perception of everything is not the same as it is in the sacred. There's no way for us to connect 100% of the time. There are some that can travel in between the realms and connect with the sacred in that sort of way. But when it comes to verbal communication, I personally believe, okay, and this is my own UPG, so it may not be supported by everybody and anybody. My own personal opinion, my own personal UPG is that verbal communication, spoken word, is understood by the sacred regardless of the dialect and regardless of the language that we use because of their existence in sacred time and space, right? So it would be almost like if you were speaking a foreign language to me and you spoke it into a cup, and that somehow between the words that you spoke, there's a filter in that cup. By the time those spoken words exit that cup, I am hearing it in my native language. It's translated almost as it were. So I feel that if the intent is true, and if the intent to speak to the sacred is um, sincere, that it doesn't need to be in an ancient language that is no longer spoken, whether it be Latin, Old Norse, because let's face it, Old Norse is a dead language, much like Latin is. Old Norse, the languages of modern time, Icelandic, Norwegian, Danish, all that sort of thing, came from a Old Norse language, which again started and was built from Proto-Indo-European languages, Germanic languages. But are the gods limited to that sort of spoken verbal, you know, communication? No, I don't think they are. So I think that the speaking in an old language that is no longer spoken nowadays is not a requirement to verbally connect with them. They're going to be able to understand what we're saying, regardless of what language we're speaking it in. That's my take on it. So hopefully that's added some to the conversation. Um, Joshua Smith, thank you for commenting in there. I'm not sure if I've acknowledged you yet, but you've been here a while, obviously, and I know you are a patron supporter. So thank you for tuning in and chiming in. It says, like to think that intent has a lot behind it as well. You choose those works for a reason and use a certain tone. Yeah, so I'm going to say just right off the bat, I love the Old Norse language. I love learning the linguistics behind it. I love understanding behind it. I have actually used not even Old Norse, but I've used Old English in certain rituals. Dingo is here; he can confirm. Um, we actually did something for Winter Nights, um, wherein sacred space was defined through an Old English Beod, an Old English prayer that invokes Thor, and it's spoken in Old English. Um, why did I choose that? Well, it was because I knew the authenticity of it, and I knew that it was, you know, maybe not necessarily everybody around us could understand or hear it, but I knew that it was done with the intent to reach and speak to the old gods. And that was something that, as a gesture of honor to them, right? As a gesture of benevolence and as a gesture of, I know this is the language that you've heard for so long, and that this is kind of bringing it all back to that sincere, I don't know, it felt right for the time. So if you learn it, if you can do it, great. Is it a requirement? No, I don't think it is a requirement, but does it add something to it? Does it add a little bit of that, salt-based spice to the mix of things? Horrible analogy, but yeah, right. Like, does it not give you some, uh, a little razzle dazzle to the whole thing? It's it's fun, like it, and that's the whole thing. Intent, right? The passion behind it, right? I'm wanting to learn these languages. I'm wanting to learn these phrases, the way of saying things, because it speaks to me at a core level, something deep and inside me that I can't really tangibly put my hands on. It's speaking to me to want to learn this, right? And so you put that level of effort, you put that devotion, you put that, focus on learning it into that thing. And then when you apply that thing into your ritual, guess what? That's where magic happens. That is the definition of magic. You know what I mean? So, requirement, no. Benefit, 100%. Um, Communicate by carving, says Matthew Petrie, I think is what I saw there as I was scrolling down. Language and communication goes beyond the verbal. You know what I mean? Like, it goes beyond just the spoken word. Communications can happen in rhythm, right? Galder, those sort of things that exists within shamanic practices across multiple cultures. You know, that's why there's drums. That's why there's humming. That's why there's spoken word that you don't necessarily have to know what you're saying. It's just the you know I think knowing what you're saying is important. You don't want to just be spouting gibberish. Um, but the rhythm, right? The rhythm of the carving, the rhythm of the burning, the rhythm of the spoken word, the rhythm of the drums, the rhythm of everything. There's magic in that. There's magic in music. There is magic in rhythm. We speak things. We weave stories. We weave certain magical spells through music and through rhythm and all that sort of stuff. There's a definite existence, I think, in that transcends cultures abroad, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be Norse culture or Germanic heathen culture. There's something about it that transcends cultures across multiple um, societies. Um, You know what I'm gonna have to do? I'm gonna have to expand this whole thing because this is a awesome chat and an awesome conversation. Um, See if I can figure out how to just expand the old. See, I'm working off of a laptop that I can't get onto my big monitor. So now I'm like, I want to see all these people's, you know, comments and conversations and stuff. This is awesome. This is why we do what we do. And again, I apologize for everybody that maybe, have joined late or whatever. 18 live viewers. Love you all. Thank you all. Please be sure to subscribe to Midgard Musings. Um, Vastly approaching 3,500 subscribers. I remember looking at my YouTube activity and the channel growth and stuff over the last year, and I think, trying to get to 2,000 subscribers or something like that by this time last year, and it was, here we are now, almost to 2,000. Or sorry, 3,500. We've already passed the 2,000 mark, and we're at 3,500. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Hey Seth, you were AFK for longer than I thought you'd be. Not sure what that means. Take your meds. Don't forget yours. Be right back, Matthew Petrie. Yes. Everybody and anybody who's watching that knows who Matthew Petrie is, that just commented, Ears Embrace on Facebook. It is a heathen focused safe space for those that are battling various mental health issues, mental illness, things of that nature. It is a safe space. It's called Ears Embrace on Facebook. So if and Matt leads that whole thing. You know what I mean? Not only does he do his thing for Odin's Beard Woodworking, his business, but he leads the front on the Airs Embrace Facebook page. A lot of great people there, a lot of great efforts being put forth in that platform. But yeah, so many good things going on here in the live chat. I'm literally trying to just read through and hear it, and I love the interaction. I love seeing everybody be a part of it. Nikki Slusher would like to know if anyone else thinks that the same as you, which is when your cat went missing 4 days ago. The day that he went missing, you were out calling for him and found a large feather. Someone's telling you should bring it into your home, and after that, you called out through mind, feeling for his energy, and it took another day, but he came home. How would we view that? So I've had a very interesting experience with animals. Whether you want to label them as familiars, the philia, there's an animalistic. First of all, heathenry is largely animalistic. You know what I mean? Animistic. The connection between us and the animal, the primal side of things. You know what I mean? It's definitely a thing. It's definitely there. And when it comes to the familiar animal side of things that we share on our day-to-day basis, our house pets, animals that exist and live with us in the same literal space. There's something to be said for that. So I've had conversations and I've talked with people about their own inner hearth dealings, right? For instance, I've had a conversation with somebody recently who talked about some activity going on in their home that they felt was fey activity. So I know this is a term, and I know this is a label that is put on a certain thing, but when it comes to like my personal view of things, like that is Vatir, that is spiritual beings that exist in profane space and time, that exist kind of side by side with us. So when there is like a lot of fey activity, a lot of Vatir activity in the home, Um, in my experience, that is usually due to something that has stirred the pot. There is something that has caused the Vatir, the localized house god or house spirits or whatever you want to call it, whatever label you want to put on it, Fey, Vatir, whites, whatever you want to label it as. Um, Something has happened that has caused them to be like a bit more active, right? They're like, well, why do you now have this thing that you've never had up to this point? Why is there this thing going on that we've never done before? It's acting like it's causing a ripple in the pond, as it were. So as an example, right, the person who I spoke to was like, well, we've never put up the quintessential Christmas tree in our house before, and my children are sitting on the floor and they are looking at this Christmas tree. They are looking at the tree that has been put up in the home, and they are seeing things that I rarely see, but they are seeing things and they are watching things. The child, a disruption in the house and then the home. So I'm tying it all into the whole animal thing, and the reason why I'm saying that is because I felt that the house pets, the home, whether it be your dogs, your cats, that sort of thing, they particularly have um, a heightened sensitivity to the activity of the Fae, of the Vatir of your home. So the Fae, the Vatir, those sacred, I say sacred, but those spiritual beings that exist side by side with you, they coexist, right? It's your home, but they live there with you. So when things that you are inserting into your home, and then when things happen in your home that they're like, whoa, bro, what are you doing? Like, what is this? Right? Like this person, for instance, like they erected this, Christmas tree or whatever for family traditions and things. They've never experienced that before. So they're going to be a little bit more maybe vocal. They're going to be a bit more active. They're going to do things and they're going to be more noticeable because it's a disruption to their normal thing. So my suggestion was to like, okay, this is your home. They live side by side with you. They are the protectors, the guardians, whatever of your hearth and home. You got to let them know that this is okay. That the thing that you're doing is not a, a gesture to disrupt. It is a gesture to bind, and it is a gesture to, connect with things. But because they're unfamiliar, because they're not necessarily in tie, they're tied in with those sort of things. Maybe they need that gesture. So I was like, leave an offering out. Let them know. Speak to your Vatir. Speak to your house white. Speak to your, um, speak to the Fae that exist within your space. And the reason why I brought up the animals is because I mentioned to the guy, I said, if you have any house pets, and he's like, yeah, I've got dogs. We've got, several um, dogs in the house so they can quite often um, share a connection with the Vatir of the home, the Husvatir. And so for me, one of my practices has been whenever there's a disruption in the house, whenever there's something that's going on that may cause the Vatir of the home to be alerted or alarmed or upset, is I will treat the house Vatir through my house pets nicer. I'll give them treats. I'll give them food. I'll give them things that are a gesture of like a peace treaty. Like, hey, everything's cool, guys. Here you go. Understand, like, we're all in this together, and this may be something that you can, and it's worked for me, right? Like that gesture, that practice, that hearth cult or whatever has worked. So it may be something that for for you, like with this cat missing or whatever, and all those things, um, maybe there was something going on. Maybe there were things going on that caused the familiar, the philia, that element of the spirit realm existing in the profane space to be like, I don't know, I think I need to get out of here. And then maybe you just need to reconnect. Maybe you just need to, share a gesture of, you know, everything. Everything's all right. You may not be used to it. It may be new. It's new to me. It's new to us. We're all in this together. Let's just, in a more amicable sort of way. So it's a suggestion and maybe something that's worth, incorporating. So hopefully that helps. Wow. I went off on a tangent there, and there's a lot of comments that are coming through on that. Like Dingo says, they operate on a different level than us. Different rules apply. Yes. We we exist in profane space and time. We can connect in various ways to the spirit realm. That does not necessarily connect us to the sacred. There's a difference between the sacred and the profane, and the things that exist in those relative terms. Like to connect as a profane being to the sacred requires us to leave our profane self. The parts of ourself, the parts of our soul, the soul complex. We've got the Hamingya, the Hoger, or not the Hoger, but the Hamingya, the Philia, the Homer, various parts of ourselves that stay in the sacred, or sorry, that stay in the profane space, but other parts of that self, that the soul complex, that can connect with the sacred. And it is very complex, and it's not something that's quite so cut and dry. So like what Dingo was saying, like how they exist, how various aspects of, I'm gonna refer, and Dingo knows what I'm talking about because I recently watched an episode of the uh, Rhetoric Rabbit Hole. You can Google it. You can search it on YouTube. It's a local podcast sort of thing, but they were talking about like alien people or alien existence, alien forces, things that don't exist, and it doesn't mean like extraterrestrial. And they were talking about the trolls, the elves, the dwarves, that sort of thing. Like these are all things that in the folklore existed in profane space, but they're spirit beings. They weren't like physical. It's kind of where we're talking about right now when it comes to those sort of things. The gods, right? The gods exist in sacred space and time. It's nothing a part of our profane existence. It's not the same as connecting with the Vatir and connecting with the localized land or house whites. It's not the same. Connecting to the sacred at that point, the spirit traveling, the mound sitting, all of these sacred rites and rituals and things that exist in Germanic spirituality and religious practices, it's way deeper and it's way more complex than just giving an offering to your localized house white or your local land white or whatever it is. It's way more complex than that. But it is a thing. It is definitely a thing. My I'm trying to read right now is a little bit slow, so I'm trying to just catch up on some of the comments, doing the best I can. And Dingo's is doing awesome here, answering questions, mentioning I should say, Thoth and Odin, when it comes to various things. So like the great thing about Dingo, as being a close friend and one of the few who I bestow the title of brother upon, and who I've trusted with as being Gothi, is the reason why he's Gothi is because of his experience with other spiritual and religious practices and things. So he's mentioning Thoth, like Egyptian pantheons and things like that. Like there's a lot of information, a lot of knowledge within Dingo that I've become very close and connected with. So he mentions a lot of valuable things that kind of cross into not just a Northern European Germanic approach to spirituality or religions, but the nuances and the similarities that exist in those other things, yeah, cross pantheon studies are fascinating. Our tribe has developed as a focus on a Northern Germanic or Northern European pantheon, because there's been issues with the blendings of pantheons when it comes to building a tribe. Like there's like, hey, if that's what you want to do and that's how you want to focus things on, like that's great. But the mixing of it in a tribal aspect when we're trying to build a tribe, all of this stuff right here, like this is not that. This is not, we're just talking here. We're discussing things and we're learning things together so much, I hope. So that's okay. But like when it comes to like, a tribal build or a tribal aesthetic and how we're building the tribe, like we've got to kind of focus on one thing. The blending of pantheons tends to, I think, just water it down so much to the point that it doesn't give any sort of solid roots or solid foundation, right? So, don't cross the streams, like Ghostbusters, right? You guys have seen Ghostbusters, or at least I hope you have. What's the number one rule? You don't cross the streams. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, then she's too young for you, bro. She's just too young for you if you don't know what I mean. Matt's Birchwood rune set is complete, and now all that is left to do is the whatchamacallit, driftwood set. So here's kind of the start of it all with Feu. The light, well, what do I do here? So fuzzy. There we go. There's Feu. Still fuzzy. Urus. Still fuzzy. I don't know. Lighting is not giving the best display, and I don't want to display my hard work in a lesser light, but it's out there. They're all done. The rune sets for the driftwood, they'll be done sometime in the next, I don't know, maybe done this weekend, maybe done this week. You're welcome, Matt. Thank you. Thank you more than anything. Thank you for what you do. Dingo says, I'm a little fuzzy on the whole good bad thing. And welcome back, Patrick. Indeed. Welcome back, Patrick, to the live stream. Maintaining a solid audience here. Really appreciate the interaction, and Dingo for moderating the chat. 100%. Thank you guys so much for that. So yeah, hope you all are doing well. It has been now, what are we at? An hour and 27 minutes, which should have been 2 hours. and 27 minutes because the first hour of the live stream that I was trying to get up and running was failing. So technically speaking, I've been at this for 2.5 hours, but you guys have been here for the last hour and a half, and we appreciate that. Round before Raw. Thoth was round before Raw. Yeah, Dingo is the expert here when it comes to Egyptian pantheons and things like that. I've not delved into that aspect of things too much, and I don't have a horse in that race, as it were. But so I will defer to him on those sort of things. So, given the fact that we've gotten so much accomplished and have had such a great turnout and response on this, I definitely appreciate it. Want to say thank you to Wyatt and Dingo and Matt and who we got? Nikki Slusher, Lady Clapera, Onk, and who do we have? Who else do we have here that's still watching live? Comment down below so I can make sure to credit you. Joshua Smith. There's got to be more. Maria Fury, longtime patron. Godfrey Bear. People all over the world, all over Midgard. Streaming live from Middle Tennessee and reaching globally in all regions. The East Coast, even the West Coast, New Zealand, Australia, that region. Blowing my freaking mind. You know what I mean? I do podcasts on the podcast twice a week, and I get to see the analytics and stuff. But this is like in real time, because I get to interact with all of you fine folks. So it's awesome to be a part of it and to hear what all you're saying. Chainmail, do you speak a modern Germanic language fluently? If not, what would it be, and would you find it useful in ritual? Yeah, so Chainmail, I mentioned it slightly before with regards to the use of spoken language in ritual, right? Like everything is about intent. I do not speak a fluent second language beside English. I know some words in multiple different languages, and have been learning Old Norse, but and have done ritual with the use of Old English phrases. I have found the value of older languages, whether they be dead languages, things that are used in modern times or not. But I haven't found that as being a requirement for my own pagan practices. The gods, again, exist in sacred space. So we could speak in modern English and it would be understandable to them because of their ability, because they exist in sacred space and time. So like I mentioned before, it would be like almost speaking into a cup, and then the person on the other end who doesn't understand modern English, I would be speaking into that cup, and then what comes out gets translated in the mix and translates to them in understandable dialect or an understandable language. I don't think that the gods are limited to us in modern times as not understanding what we speak. The authenticity of it all and all that again is intent. So it's like if I were to go to a foreign country and want to be able to speak to the locals of that region, I would want to, in my own personal approach, want to understand the language and learn the language to speak to them in their native tongue as a sort of form of respect. Right? So, but we're talking about ritual things. We're talking about religious things. If you're not fluent in an ancient Germanic language or whatever, you're not. I don't think the gods are going to be like ignoring you because you're not speaking in their language. They can understand what you're saying, regardless of what language you're speaking it in. Maria asked that we would still like a discussion on the whole folkish thing one day, and Dingo's response is, "Do we have to talk about folkish stuff?" That is, and so okay. Elephant in the room. I have seen Maria's comments about folkish heathenry, and have acknowledged it and said, "Yeah, don't talk about it. It be in a video, or whether it be in a live stream or whatever." I've acknowledged the whole thing. I don't know really how to approach this in a way that's amicable. You know what I mean? Because bottom line is, any way that I've encountered folkish heathens, whether it be online or whether it be, you know, I've kind of brought this whole thing up, this topic up in various podcasts and stuff that I've been guests on. Um, there's no real amicable way to put this, right? There's no real like, hey, you either are for it, or you're against it. It's one or the other. There's no, I don't know, middle ground with it. And I am against it. I'm against folkish heathenry. Um, so I don't know what to talk about is going to I don't know what that's going to achieve, when it comes to your ask. I don't want to ignore your request. You've been a long time supporter of this channel, and you've been um, providing a lot of support, and I don't want to ignore your request and ignore your ask. But when it comes to the folkish approach to heathenry, I think it goes way deeper than that. You know what I mean? I think it goes like, why are we limited, or why are we limiting ourselves, or anybody? Why is anybody limiting themselves to a folkish approach? Like, why do you think that there has to be, a Northern Germanic European bloodline connection to the veneration of the Northern European gods? I've had these discussions. I've had these talks with people offline about this sort of thing, and it's always ended with, me just the people part ways in these types of discussions. um, I don't think, and I've never thought, that you have to have Germanic bloodlines in order to venerate the gods. And I do not think that the gods or the sacred are going to connect to you in any sort of special way just because you have Northern European descent or Germanic descent or any sort of blood. I don't think that that has any sort of validity into practicing heathenry. What it really boils down to is your worldview, right? If you think that you're a superior person, or that you are only entitled to venerate the Germanic gods because of your ancestry, then that's a superiority complex, and you've got other issues that you got to deal with. It has nothing to do with a religious thing. It has nothing to do with you're trying to incorporate um, bigoted views into a religion, and that's horrible. Christianity has done it. It's trash. So what I do think, though, is that ancestry and ancestral veneration has everything to do with heathen practice, and it doesn't matter what region of the world you're in. Okay, I've seen plenty of things happen with Aboriginal folks in Australia where they take offense to people calling spiritual journeys, spiritual excursions, referring it to as a walkabout. That term walkabout has, I've seen in many cases, be referred to as derogatory, Like you don't call it that. That's that's not something that you refer to as, at least if you're not part of that culture. If it's like it's almost like a cultural appropriation approach to things. Um, there's Native American traditions and things that do not apply to certain people that are not a part of those nations, that are not a part of those indigenous folk traditions. Okay. Um, so you find something else. You find a different approach to things. When it comes to this whole folkish thing, I think it gets too heavily tied into white supremacy. You know, there's just too much of that tied to folkish heathenry, and I think it gets lost. I think the inherent heart of heathenry gets lost in the folkish approach to heathenry. You know what I mean? Um, so here's the discussion. Here's the talk. Here's my feel on it, and here's my feedback on it. Race is irrelevant. Race is 100% irrelevant. And I don't know why people get so stuck on race. No, I do know why people get stuck on race, because it's a whole pissing contest. It's a whole, mine's bigger than yours and whatever sort of thing. But it's horrible. It's a horrible approach to spirituality, and it's a horrible approach to think that you are a gatekeeper of a religious approach to things just because of your skin color, or because of your ethnicity, or because of your ancestry. That's a horrible thing to adopt. So, and I'm sure I've got a mile long's worth of notes to read over this. And I've probably lost some subscribers because of it, but I really don't care. Let me try to back up here and see. Too much caffeine for the day, says Janet. I don't know. I look at it this way. I could look back and read through comments and things. Your opinion is your own, and you are entitled to your own opinion. You asked for a conversation, you asked for a discussion, and here it is. And on Midgard Musings, and in my own pagan practices and within our own tribe, race is irrelevant. Okay, race is not going to be one of those things that are going to prevent or stop a member or a potential, prospective member of our tribe from joining locally. And it's also not going to be something that I stop somebody from. First of all, I have no time to screen people backgrounds or whatever, as far as like that are interested. If you are interested in Norse heathenry, Germanic paganism, also true, that sort of thing, if that's your interest, I don't really care where you're from. No, and nobody that is closest and nearest and dearest to me cares either. Okay, if you want to know more about it, and if it fits, and if it calls to you, learn some things, ask questions. We're here to help. We're not going to be like, oh, well, by the way, because you're, from Africa, or because you're from South America, or because you're from Asia, or because you're this, or because you're that. None of that is going to stop me. And I speak for myself because this is my channel. But the people that are nearest and dearest to me, I can almost assuredly vouch for them and say that none of that is going to stop us from uh, helping you learn about this sort of thing. It's cultural, yes, it is. It is a cultural folk way, but it is not exclusive to those in that culture. If you want to adopt those cultural beliefs, if you want to adopt those traditions in your own pagan practices, by all means, go right ahead. Nobody is here to stop you from that. And anybody that does try to gatekeep those sort of things needs to go fry ice. They are nobody living right now is in a position to gatekeep those sort of things, because the whole element, the whole existence of this, Germanic, like, it's a blend of different cultures. You know what I mean? There's so many different things that have been incorporated from mainland Europe to these various Scandinavian regions and things like that. It's all integrated. So I don't know. I've gone on the record, and I'm quite tired of saying it. You know, folkish heathenry is just a fancy way of labeling yourself and trying to water down yourself as a racist. The AFA is American, was it also True Folk Assembly, AFA. They've been around for decades, and their approach to heathenry has always been very folkish. And Steve McNally and those types have gone on record as being very racist in their approaches to things. So to me, it's a all is said and done. I'm not trying to stick on that sort of thing. This is not what this channel is about. You know, I just definitely want to put that out there, that if that's what you're looking for within heathenry, if you think that you are a sort of gatekeeper to cultural traditions and things, and you have to stop others from practicing or whatever, then you can unsubscribe, leave, go on your own merry way, and figure out something else, because that's not what Midgard Musings is about. It's not what I am about. Never have been and never will be. So maybe that has cleared the water. Okay. Maybe that has set the record straight. Yeah, Dingo says, in our tribe, all are welcome. We practice the Norse heathen path, and as we discussed earlier, mixing pantheons gets messy. Yeah, the mixing of pantheons doesn't touch on any sort of racial or whatever thing. We just don't want to mix the pantheons because it's like Dango said, you know, this is a Norse heathen approach to things. If you want to be Roman pagan, focus on that. If you want to be Greek pagan, if you want to be Mediterranean, any other sort of, you know, whatever other pagan approach, if you want to do that, Celtic, anything, focus on that. Our focus is on Norse Germanic heathenry. It has nothing to do with race or anything like that. You know what I mean? From New Jersey, don't hate me. Well, I'm from New York, so you don't hate me. uh, you know, for as many years as I've the whole New York New Jersey rivalry or whatever, you know, who makes the best this thing, that, or the other. Yeah. I'm from New York, so don't hate me, or hate me because I'm from New York. Guess what? New Yorkers don't care. I don't really care. If you want to hate me because I'm from New York, rock on with your bad self. I don't care. But yeah. All right, folks. Look, it's been an awesome live stream. Matter of fact, hour and over 45 minutes. It is right now getting late in my part of the world, and it may be early in your part of the world, or a little bit later, depending on where you're watching and listening from. So I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. This has been a fantastic encounter. I love the interaction. I'm sorry I couldn't quite focus on the live stream as it was happening in real time, but Dingo, my hat's off to you, my good friend and my brother, for being here to help moderate the live chat and answer questions. And I'm glad that we finally got to get the live stream up and running. I'm sorry for the nearly hour long delay that this was going on for, but unfortunately those sort of things are out of my control. So going forward, I will do all of my best to make all efforts to make sure that, you know, we're not delayed for any length of time. That was horrible. But thank you again for your patience. Thank you all for your support, and thank you for staying around. So anybody that's not, please subscribe to the channel if everything that we've talked about tonight and thus far is of your interest and you want to support, subscribing to the channel will definitely help that. Become a patron on Patreon, all of those things. If you go into the description area of my videos, you will see a Linktree link. Everything that's in that Linktree link, Facebook pages, Twitter feeds, Instagram, Patreon, Teespring, the merchandise, all of that is there in that Linktree link. It's kind of like a one-stop shop. All right. So if that is what you're interested in, if that is what you want to do to help support the channel, check it all out. Do whatever you can. But again, if it's free and you want to do it, then all you need to do is subscribe to the channel. Click like on the videos. Follow the Facebook page. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, whatever else you see down there. It's all appreciated and it all greatly helps. So thank you all so much for watching and commenting and being a part of tonight's live stream. We will hopefully be doing this again next week, whether it's Friday or Saturday. Just, make sure that you've got if all you do is follow me on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed and have the bell notifications tuned on, because everything that I post on my other social media platforms, I try to make sure that it's shared here. So make sure that you've got all those notifications turned on. Thank you all so much again for your constant support. Okay, so hail, thank you, and may your hearth fires continue to burn bright. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.